Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, April 24th, 2016. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Let's get ready for a good week coming up. I'm going to get right into it here because I have been trying to make this video now for a few days, or, well, 2 days, and I keep running into issues with either it being too long or sound problems, or I'm not sure. So I'm going to get right into it and try to keep this short, especially since the market now has reopened for the week. And there is a lot going on. So, as always, though, guys, please use your own judgment, do your own analysis, make your own calls about your trades. Don't use anything that I'm telling you to base your trades off of. It's my opinion only, and do what makes sense for you and your account. So let's look first. Here we are on the pound yen. And I am actually long this trade from the weekend, from Friday. And this looks to either be an ABC or a 1, 2, 3. But either way, whether this is a C or a 3, it's going up. And so I would expect that we'll probably see a correction here soon. But wave 3 is not over yet. And so this pair is definitely going higher. And after that, we'll see, because there is some very important yen news coming out this week. So if this is a corrective move, we'll see what it does. But like I said, right now I'm long, and I would continue to look for longs on pullbacks, at least for a while here. Pound Canadian. This is the daily chart, and you can see what's happening here. As we kind of have come down, we have these overlapping waves, and I have this labeled as a 5-wave pattern here, although it might not be accurate now that it's unfolded a little bit more. But you can see this looks like what we call an ending diagonal in the Elliott wave world, where you've got converging trend lines and you've got overlapping waves. It's very typical of either a wave 5 or a wave C, and the market usually reverses pretty sharply. And you can see on the shorter time frames, we kind of were coming down respecting this trend line. Now you can see on this last low, it totally missed it. And at the same time, we have divergence on the CCI indicator here. CCI not making new lows while the price does. So I would expect, if I had to put a bias on this, I would expect this to break to the upside at some point. But until it breaks out of this convincingly, I wouldn't necessarily go long, because it could just stay inside this channel for a while longer. It could hit the top and then go back down again. So, which is possibly what it's doing now, but we'll see. But the signs are in place for a rally in this pair. Pound Aussie is also a pair that I held from last weekend. And again, much like pound yen, this could be an ABC or it could be a 1, 2, 3. And we're in the middle of, well, towards the end of wave 3. This could actually be wave 4 of 3 forming right here, but we'll see. And with the Australian dollar looking weak right now, this probably is going to go higher. Now, whether it's a correction or whether it's the end of the start of a new uptrend, we'll have to see. Okay, but either way, this pair is going up. Once this C or 3 completes, we'll look for either a sideways correction and then up again, or a sharp reversal back lower if this was indeed a correction, and then it ends the C wave. So, but right now, I'll be looking for longs. Pound Swiss, this has been going straight up here. So it's kind of a freight train. If you're not already in it, I am not in this right now, and I'm not going to get in it. I'm just going to let this go and see how it unfolds. On the weekly chart, we did break a trend line here to the downside. So we are heading back down. So we'll have to see what happens here. There is some Swiss news coming out this week. But again, I'm just going to keep an eye on this and see what it does. This has the signs of possibly just being a correction by the look of the CCI on the 12-hour chart and the daily. But it's very impulsive right now, so I'm certainly not looking to go short on this unless I see clear signs of that. Pound US, this looks to be in a wave 5 right now. And, on the daily chart, we have this sideways action after this downtrend. And this is very indicative of two currencies that are pretty equal, so there's a big push and pull going on, so we just get this sideways choppy action. I'm not really trading this pair right now, but if I was, it would be on these lower time frames, and this does look to be a wave 5 in progress on this trend right here, and we'll probably correct down after that. US Swiss, similar to the pound Swiss. Out to the weekly chart here, we have this trend line, this rising trend line on the weekly chart that was broken here. And now if you go to these lower time frames, it looks like we're approaching it from the bottom. So to retest this now is resistance. And so again, whether this is a ABC or a 1, 2, 3, I would look for some potential action around this this trend line. Whether we see a sharp reversal back down, then we know it was an ABC. If we see it kind of move sideways, then it's probably going to go up for a wave 5. But the longer term trend is sideways at best and is suggestive of more downside. But I would watch this action right in here and see where this goes next. US Canadian, not one I'm trading a lot lately, but I would look at this as a completed wave 5 right here on the 2-hour chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is a possible ABC to the upside. So there is Canadian news this week, and we have major US dollar news, so all these pairs are going to be very important to watch this week. But again, not a pair I trade much, but I will watch this for some obvious things and see if this corrects to the upside, and we'll see what happens. US yen, this is another one that I held through the weekend. And a very similar situation. We had this downtrend on the daily and the 12-hour chart, and now this looks to be again either an ABC or we're in wave 3. So we're either in wave 3 of C or we're in wave 3 of an impulsive move up. But either way, this is probably going to go up a little bit more. We'll probably get a little correction, go up and finish this wave C, and then we'll see after that. And again, major yen and dollar news. So this is going to be a really important pair to watch this week because we have major dollar and yen news coming out this week. But right now, in the short term here, the next couple of days, I look forward to continue to push higher, although slowly. Australian yen. You can see here on the weekly chart that the technical traders were keeping this right inside this channel. They slam it down, buy it off the low, slam it up, slam it down, slam it up, slam it down, slam it up, and now potentially coming back down at some point, because here we are back on the 4-hour chart. There's a clear trend here that looks like it's going to be ending soon, and it'll probably come up and retest the trend line, and then we'll look down. Again, major yen news this week and a weakening Aussie Australian dollar could potentially spell trouble if the yen news is positive. So, but we'll see where that looks like when we get there. I'm sorry I'm going through these fast, guys. I'm just trying not to keep this too long. But if you have any questions, either comment in here or if you're in the Skype room, let me know that. So, okay, Australian dollar on the daily chart. Looks like we potentially finally hit the end of this trend right here. It was following this rising trend line. Every time we thought maybe we had the end of the trend, it would go down, it would reverse again, go down, reverse again. And now it looks like it's going down a little more impulsive now. I am short this from this area. And we can see the divergence is continuing on the CCI. And so on the lower time frames, this looks a little bit more impulsive. So, but again, whether this is a correction down or whether it's just the resumption of the longer term downtrend from the weekly chart will have to remain to be seen. But I do think this has more downside potential, though. And again, the Australian dollar is showing at least some midterm weakness, but we'll see. A lot of it will probably depend on what the US dollar does. Kiwi dollar. I'm looking at with the Kiwi dollar, this is the weekly chart. And again, this isn't one I trade much. If you're going to trade Kiwi pairs, you're better off with Euro Kiwi or Pound Kiwi. There's more pip value, but I at least, this is a major, so I do watch it. Here's the weekly chart. Again, this has the appearance to me of an ABC. And we do have major Kiwi news coming out this week. So, and you can see here on the 8-hour chart on this, if this is a wave C, see how all these waves are overlapping? It's really sloppy and choppy on these longer time frames. This is really indicative of a corrective pattern when they're overlapped like this. And if you're going to trade this, really what you trade are these moves up and down, especially on these smaller time frames. But I wouldn't trade on a longer time frame on this because it's just too choppy. But depending what happens with the Kiwi news this week, this could be nearing an end and we could see a sharp reversal. So let's keep an eye on that. And along that line, so here's Euro Kiwi. So if the Kiwi dollar goes down, then the Euro Kiwi naturally would probably want to go up. And here we are on the weekly chart. We have this trend up. This is potentially in a corrective mode here. This looks like a triangle, a wave B triangle. And so we went back up, and now we're consolidating inside this triangle. And this could break to the upside. This has the shape of a triangle, but this is a weekly chart, so you got to be careful. Potentially, we might see this continue to move up, or we might see it, come up, correct, and then blast out of this triangle to the upside. And there's a lot of pips there, if that's what this is. This is a 1,300 pip triangle, so we'll see what it looks like. But for sure, I'd keep an eye on this, depending what the Kiwi does this week. So Euro Aussie, again, with weakness in the Australian dollar, this looks potential to have upside. So this is the 2-hour chart. We did have we have been in a pretty sustained downtrend here. And so you kind of have to respect that. But this looks like to be possibly the end of a trend on this pair. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ended right here. And now this is a possible ABC here. A, this looks like B, it's very sideways, it's very long, so it doesn't really look like a wave 2. So that's why I have this labeled as an ABC. So here's your A, possible B, and then up for C. So we'll see what that does. But I do think this pair is going up with mainly with Aussie weakness. There's no major Euro news this week, but but if any positive Euro news comes out, that should push this up. So Euro Canadian, again on the daily chart, this looks like a 5-wave trend potentially ended. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This first vertical line is this wave 5 down, so you go to a smaller time frame and look at it. And then this is the wave 5 of 5 basically right here. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can go down even further and look at this and see if this looks to be nearing the end of the trend, which it does. So we're starting to get a little divergence on the CCI. So again, I'm not saying this is over yet, and we have Canadian news this week. This may just kind of drift sideways now, but if I had any bias here, it would be to the upside, but I'm not eager to jump into this one right now. So, okay. Jumping on to Euro Yen. Again, another one that's on the weekly chart is being held inside of this channel. And it looks like it's bounced again off the bottom of the channel. And it's heading higher. So, but you can see here, it's interesting. Each time it tried to approach this upper trend line, it fell a little short. A little bit more each time. So we have this high, then a little bit lower here, then a lot lower here. And now we're going up again. And again, this is another yen cross. With the yen news coming out this week, I'd keep an eye on this. If this falls short of this low here, it could pretend to a large downside move, and break out of this channel. So, but for now, it's going up in the short term. But with the yen news coming out this week, I'm not going to be looking to jump into another yen trade at the moment. I'm going to sit and wait and see what happens. So, but just keep an eye on that. So, euro dollar trend completed here, and this looks to be heading down. Now, whether this is an ABC correction or we're heading back down lower, we'll have to see. I have it right now labeled as a zigzag ABC. One of the guidelines for Elliott would be the fact that these tend to retrace back to the termination of the previous wave 4, which would be here. So if this is an ABC, this would be a target right about in here, which is about another 70 pips. If it's a resumption of the downtrend, then it's going to go a lot lower. And you can see on the weekly, we've been moving sideways really since beginning of the year on the weekly chart. So I'm not sure where this is going, but in the short term, I'd say it's going down, and we'll keep an eye on it beyond that. Canadian yen, this is my demo account, but I place trades in it once in a while just to keep the broker from closing it on me. I don't trade a lot of these miners, but this is one that's had really nice patterns, especially on the shorter time frames. And again, this looks like another ABC. You go out to the, not to the monthly, but yeah, maybe the daily chart, ABC. And again, this is a yen cross. So with the yen news coming out this week, this may move higher. You know, I'm going to identify a target probably up here somewhere. I'm not going to be looking to get into on my live account in this pair, but I would watch it once the yen news comes out around the middle of the week. So about where this is going next, and if it's really negative for the yen, this is going to continue way higher. If it's the yen news is positive, expect a sharp reversal back to the bottom. So, so if you're in this long, I would stay in it for now. If you're not in it long, I would be sitting on the sideline waiting, and I would not be getting in right now. So, okay, so I'm just going to really quick here. As far as news this week, here it is, right in the middle of the week is the important stuff, guys. FOMC on Wednesday. They're not expecting a change here, so it's going to be based on the statement, but this is huge. Watch your US dollar pairs come Wednesday. 3 hours later, you've got the Kiwi RBNZ rate statement and cash rate. Again, they're not expecting to change it, so if that's the case, all eyes will turn to the rate statement, but be very aware of this. These are the meat. You have a GDP for the pound here also on Wednesday. That could be big. That's really the only major pound news for the week. You have Australian CPI on Tuesday. I'm just backing up a little. That's the only major Aussie news for the week, so this could be important. And they are expecting a worse reading. So if this is 0.2 or lower, that would continue the downtrend on the Australian dollar. And then going back after the Kiwi, several hours later, you're going to have the Bank of Japan monetary policy statement and outlook. Now, there's no predictions here, so it's all going to depend on what they say in their statements. So keep an eye on this. The way things look right now, tonight, it looks to be possibly a slightly bullish statement, but who knows? Things can change. But keep an eye on this for sure. The press conference, all of this, policy statement, outlook report, and the press conference. That's Wednesday into Thursday, depending where you live. And then later in the week, advanced GDP and unemployment for the dollar. I don't expect these are going to do much in wake of the FOMC, unless that ends up being a flop. Unemployment claims, this shows up every week, and although they have it in red, it doesn't really do much. But the GDP one could. It depends, like I said, on what FOMC ends up churning out. So keep an eye on it, but certainly FOMC is a much bigger deal. Friday, you've got the Swiss National Bank chairman speaking. Now, the last couple of times he spoke, it really hasn't done anything. But keep an eye on it because, the Swiss franc can have incredibly wild swings. If he comes out and says something either really bullish or really bearish, watch out. And the Swiss National Bank's general pinning is that they're trying to suppress their currency and keep it lower. So any of your Swiss crosses, if they hold to that, are going to rally. So, but we'll see. Like I said, the last couple of times it hasn't done much, but it certainly is worth keeping an eye on what Jordan says here. And then rounding out the week, Canadian GDP. I think that could be very important for the Canadian pairs, and so we'll see. It's going to get lost in all these bank rate decisions this week, but it'll round out the week for the Canadian pairs. And I'll take this in light of where all the other pairs shake out after all the other big news announcements this week. But to round out the week, that's the last major piece of news, would be that Canadian GDP month over month on Friday. So that's it, guys. Sorry I rushed through that, trying to keep this to 20 minutes. If you have any questions, again, drop them in here on YouTube or in the Skype room for those of you in the hybrid trading room. And I hope that helps. Hope it made sense, and hope it fits into what you're seeing, and you can make some pips off it. All right.